Okay, we're ready for the third recording here, and I want to say it took a little while to record these last two ones because I kind of got myself confused between the burnout scale I gave you for part of your discussion boards and then the lab we were doing on daily hassles and stress. But hopefully I've clarified that now, and the acoustic tape and the agenda will provide some details on that. This is a 175-point assignment. The first 100 points will be on kind of lecture-based material. I'm going to mostly talk about burnout here, and the second part will be mostly on the statistics that you'll do for the lab. That's related but different. It's on daily hassles and stress. So let's start it off, and you can see what I'm looking for in the grading criteria. You took the survey, and indeed in your discussion boards you were correct. There are three components to burnout. There is emotional exhaustion, there's depersonalization, and there's lack of personal accomplishment. And section 1 was, emotional exhaustion on the job, at school, you might be feeling this. Section number 2 was personal accomplishment, and section number 3 was depersonalization. And so in terms of hypothesis testing here, the idea would be we could measure each of these. These are each continuous variables. They can be measured according to a number of different things, and the hypothesis is for somebody who is burned out, they should show high numbers on emotional exhaustion, low numbers on high numbers on emotional exhaustion, low numbers on a sense of personal accomplishment, and high numbers on depersonalization. The statistics you would actually run on that would actually be a correlation statistic. You would hope there would be positive correlations between subscales 1 and 3, depersonalization and emotional exhaustion, and negative correlations between subscales 1, 3, and 2. Because hopefully if you're getting a lot out of your job and feeling personal accomplishment, you will not have burnout. So we could do correlations, all continuous variables. But the other thing that I wanted to bring up in this lecture, more on the statistical part of things, is how do we end up getting 3 subscales? And the way we end up getting 3 subscales, the person who did this survey on burnout was actually featured in the Zimbardo study. She was a graduate student of Zimbardo's at Stanford. Her name was Christina Maslach. She later went on and did her graduate research and came up with this scale known as burnout. I actually gave you the abstract for her research there, that she actually studied this emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. And the way you actually come up with subscales, the 3 subscales here, is you do something called psychometrics. And when you run a psychometric analysis, it's not hypothesis testing. You're trying to come up with reliability and validity of your scale. Is it measuring what you're supposed to be measuring? And so the typical procedure one does in psychometrics is something called a factor analysis. In a factor analysis, what they did is they put all these questions into a survey, and they found that all the things that I put on for S1, they all came out very highly correlated with each other, and so Maslach just named that emotional exhaustion. The same thing with number 2, which was labeled, because they were all similar, personal accomplishment, and then 3, they were all very highly correlated, which was a sense of depersonalization. So you do psychometrics to come up with subscales. You do a factor analysis. That's exactly what Maslach did. So you should write some notes in your own words on this. The next part, once again, just to kind of finish this off, I suppose, in terms of divisions and how this relates to psychology. If you go, as a lot of you did on your discussion board, you found out a little bit about organizational psych and health psych. Division 14 is organizational psychology. Go to the APA web listing of that and make sure you describe in detail, maybe a couple of sentences or a paragraph, what organizational psychologists do, and then how this research is relevant to that, and do the same thing with Division 38 Health Psychology. A lot of you already did that on your discussion board, so just relate it a little bit more. So that'll cover the first part of the lecture here, and now we'll move on to part 2.